Hey, how's it going? It's the King Kevin Show. What's going on? What's happening? Thank you for everybody tuning in today. Today we're going to talk about jazz and the history and what brought it about. And also, we're going to compare and contrast what today's music is all about. And the buffoonery, the folly that we all been experiencing on television, radio, and all that other stuff. And by the way, this Saturday, well, today is May 23rd, so April 23rd, April 26th, I'm going to be narrating the history of jazz at the Museum of Arts in Fort Lauderdale. I am so excited for this particular event. I mean, it is my first time doing something of this genre. Even though I listen to jazz every day. I listen to Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, all that good stuff every single day for many different reasons, which we're going to get into. But before I continue, hope you all got my newsletter that I just sent out. Go to my website, thecouragetobelieve.com. You better help and go ahead and sign up while you can. That website is going to be non-existent come this weekend. KevinDorival.com will become live and everything will be transferred over. And I want to give a shout out to Jennifer, who's such a big help. She helps me every week with the King Kevin Show faithfully. I also want to give my blessings to Paulette Dozier, who's the woman who put together the History of Jazz event. This is National History of Jazz Month, or Jazz Appreciation Month rather, and where everyone around the country, all the musicians are going out doing different things and make sure to keep jazz alive. There's something that Africans came up with. Really started in Louisiana. Mr. Satchmo was the actual first person that came up with the whole thing, really, with jazz. Started that, and I'm thankful for it. Thankful for that and for many other things in this life. So please go to my website for more information, and so that you can learn about what's going on and what's happening in my world. And we are filming the documentary, The Courage to Believe, that is still ongoing. Funds are still coming in, so it's never too late to support. I thank you. I bless you for your prayers and your financial contributions, making sure that we help save our youth from poverty and also incarceration, which is something I'm very passionate about. You already know the Courage to Believe documentary coming through real soon. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. I'm going to play some tunes. What you're hearing right now actually is the theme song to my show, the King Kevin Show. So I hope you all enjoy it. We're going to play some jazz as well as the show continues. So, now how did actually jazz come about? Jazz actually came about from the Africans who were enslaved into this country. Our ancestors, our kings and queens. As a matter of fact, I know you guys like my ankh necklace, which represents life. And our ancestors wore these throughout Africa as symbols, to speak life amongst each other. And this is what the Africans did, so to speak. They spoke life to each other with music, singing, working as slaves in the fields. They sung these songs to inspire them to uplift their spirits. And actually, blues also came about around this time. But one thing that made blues and jazz and something called ragtime evolved around that time as well, because ragtime is pretty much, when you watch those old movies and you see the piano with the scrolls rolling on the piano, it's like these little, I guess, words or whatever it was. It was something that was, I believe it was the songs maybe that the musicians was using. But that's where that title came from, ragtime. So you have like tons of ragtime musicians and albums came out. That was a big thing back then. It was huge, and that was the early 1900s. Then you go into the 1910s, and when you have people like Bessie Smith who came about. She was actually one of the biggest one of the first ragtime singers, blues singers rather. She was actually the first to be popularized in the game. So shout out to the sister. And then you get into Mr. Louis Armstrong, who doing his thug thizzle. Satchmo. You guys ever watch that movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence? Yeah, Bernie Mac, rest in peace. He was definitely in there. You have who else was in there? You got quite a few individuals, black individuals that played in that movie. A whole lot, a cast of stars. But I remember when they was talking about the Boom Boom Room. Where Eddie Murphy was saying, "Man, y'all don't know about the Boom Boom Room. Man, I know Satchmo personally." And I'm sure they mentioned Louis Armstrong's name in the movie, but I never knew who Satchmo was. I kept saying that, who's Satchmo? Because over the years, being a jazz fan, and also those who know me, I love old music, all that good stuff. So when I kept hearing the name Satchmo, it wasn't until recently I put the name and the face together. And that's Mr. Louis Armstrong, who was the first one that came up with the improvisation of jazz music. And what that means is that the musicians would improvise while they're on stage, like pretty much just come up like freestyling while they're on stage with their music, which was pretty cool. But what Mr. Armstrong did, he was able to get the musicians to take a break. So while they're taking a break on stage, have one individual artist play as a solo artist, a soloist, and that pretty much revolutionized the game of jazz, because you have these huge jazz bands. I'm talking about everybody was jazz bands. You got the Kings, that's definitely one of the bands I just recently learned about, and Duke Ellington's band. He is part of the Kings. Louis Armstrong had his band. They was all over the place, and even though the African Americans came up with jazz, it wasn't only a jazz thing. That's Mrs. Billie Holiday you hear in the background. All of Me is the name of this song, and it's very sweet. It's a seductive song that she made back in the day. But I love how they used to dress up back then, man, with the top hats, the suits, the tie, the cufflinks, the fancy belt, the watches they still wear, the chain on their pants, and they'll flip it out, open up the time. As a matter of fact, in the movie Life, that's what ended up going to prison for. Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, the guy died, but they stole the watch off of Eddie Murphy, and he sees it years later. So if you haven't seen Life, go ahead and see it. It's a classic movie. You gotta know Bernie Mac passed away, so you're not gonna see too many other films like that right now. But besides that, you got the 1920s and going to the 1930s, jazz became more structured. The jazz band started playing in the big clubs. You know how in the Cotton Club, y'all heard of Cotton Club. The Cotton Club was, one of the premier spots for musicians to play. It was like the Madison Square Garden. So if you were an artist and you got invited and you black, and you already know how crazy it was back then. Especially the early 1900s up until Martin Luther King died in 1968, but we'll get into that a little later. But things were a little crazy, so these musicians actually had to go through the back door to get in. Now, us today, we look at that like kind of crazy. What you mean back door? Man, you better get out my face for that. But that's what our people is going through. And you have swing bands. The radio was a huge marketing piece for these musicians. They needed the marketing, the promotion, so the jukebox, the radio. So the big jazz bands started to compete on the jukebox with other genres, not the jukebox, but to compete for the radio time, for airtime, which is pretty interesting due to the fact that today, that competition, it really isn't about the competition. It's that money. Do you have the money? Back then, you just had to be very talented, and people really wanted to listen to your music. There wasn't TVs back in the 1930s. You understand? And it was very rare to see blacks and whites perform on stage at the same time. Yeah, matter of fact, there was a musician, a jazz musician by the name of Benny. I want to say Benny Coleman. I know his name going to come to mind in a minute, but this was a white musician, and the reason why I'm bringing his name up, as much as you guys know, I love my black people. I love everyone, but Mr. Benny, what he did was he refused to perform without black artists on the stage with him. You know what I'm saying? He was the only white guy to actually stand up for black musicians. And I definitely want to give him homage for the great job he did in honoring, the black musicians. Because he knew, we were the best. We didn't who came up with it, but it's due to the racism, the ignorance, they didn't want black artists, musicians, jazz artists, blues artists to perform at the same time. And we're talking about the swing bands. You got Betty Moten, Fletcher Henderson, Duke Ellington, Artie Shore, Count Basie, Earl Hines. The list goes on and on. Of course, I mentioned Bessie Smith earlier. And in 1939 through 1945, you go into World War II. Now, World War I, the blacks wasn't really involved as much in World War I, and you have the Great Depression. This is one thing I always ask myself: what were black people going through during the Great Depression? The Great Depression lasted all through the 30s. I believe it was 1929 up to 1940. I'll have to get that information exact for you. But anywho, the World War II literally boosted up the economy, because the Great Depression, everybody was stuck in. But black folks, we used to the recessions and depressions. That's all we've been given. So that wasn't really nothing to us because we were accustomed to it. But due to the sharecropping and the indentured servitude that blacks were doing at the time, when the white property owners lost their property, that means that the black folks didn't have nothing to sharecrop on. There was no farmland, because most of us, we only had like 1% of the economy. Black folks only ran 1% of the economy back then. Like, we were very poor. We were literally non-existent when it came to the economic scheme of things. You had your few exceptions to the rule. People like Madam J, C.J. Walker, who been doing her thing and grinding. But for the most part, the jazz music became more structured. It became more exciting and more lucrative. That's when the money came in. But when World War II came about, this gave black people the opportunity to get jobs, because most of the white soldiers who were, taken into the draft, those jobs were opened up for blacks in the States. And also, there were opportunities to get involved in the factories, building the tanks, building the weapons, the planes. A lot of black women were involved in World War II. Not just, I don't know about the nursing, but they worked in the factories. This gave them jobs, being able to send money back home, take care of their family. Money circulating. Money is very important, but don't get it twisted. Economy just isn't money alone. It's a relationship between people. So the Great Depression and World War II, the government had to get involved in World War II if we were going to get out the recession, because this boosted the economy. The economy is based off the social relationship with people first, and money. Back then, black folks had a lot of trust amongst each other. We were men and women of our word. We were raised with standards. Most families, especially in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, 80% of the homes had both parents. It was dual parenting. Now, when you go into the 50s, 60s, 70s, 90s, and today, it's, instead of it being 80% homes being occupied by both parents, now it's 80%, 83 if I'm not mistaken, is raised by single parent homes, unfortunately, which is mainly the mothers. Now, the question I have for y'all today, and you can call in at 305-600-5916. Does society control music, or does music control society? Who has the upper hand? Which one impacts the other the most? Again, number is 305-600-5916. Maybe other questions as well. Now, you get to the end of the war, 1945, with everyone being dispersed, whether in the factories or fighting in Germany and Africa against Hitler and his whole world domination scheme. That separated and destroyed all the big band jazz groups. That was pretty much the end of that era, which is cool because that gave an opportunity for people like Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong to really come up with some great songs and innovations for the whole jazz movement. Now, what else came from jazz? There was quite a few things that came from jazz. You know, class. Women took time. I mean, the reason why I love these old movies is because the women looked so fine and attractive, and they were immaculately dressed. They were, they took the time to really look in, you know, their appearance. Like, their appearance meant like the world to them. And let me see the caller here, 786. Yes, hello, you calling to the King Kevin Show. What's your name and where you calling from?
Party phone.
Amen. Yes, yes. This is the jazz headquarters. Yes, yes. Do me a favor. I'm having problems hearing you. Can you call back the show? Call back the same number. Yes, you call it now. Yeah, sorry about that. Little technical difficulties right there, but we're gonna have to call back in a few. And that was Mrs. Paulette Dozier, and I'm definitely glad that she calls. Why am I doing that? This is a trip. But okay, now you go into the 50s and 60s, and this is, you know, the Martin Luther King era. Now, those of you who didn't know, Martin Luther King was assassinated April 4th, 1968. I posted on my Instagram earlier today. And yes, you're live in the building. Sorry we lost you earlier.
Okay. Again, I was just inquiring as to if this program is being aired because it's Jazz Appreciation Month.
Yes. You know, and also it's Black History Month as well.
Okay. Black History Month, February.
No, on the King Kevin Show, every month is Black History Month.
Every month is Black History Month. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I just called in to say thank you for doing a small part to keep jazz alive. My name is Paulette Dozier, and I'm a jazz vocalist. And I just wanted to ask you, even though I don't have a lot of time, I wanted to ask you if I can give a plug about a performance that's going to happen this Saturday, and it's a jazz performance. Can I say something about it?
Oh, really, yes. But the only way I can do that, you said that you're a jazz vocalist. Only way I can let you do that is if you hit a note for us.
Okay, well, I'll do a little bit of scatting. So that's a little something.
That's what's up.
Now, is that ticket enough for me to say?
Yes, please.
On the show?
Oh, definitely, please.
Well, as I said, this is Jazz Appreciation Month and Jazz April. And over at the Museum of Art, Fort Lauderdale, we will be doing a short performance at 2 p.m. dedicated to the history of jazz. and it will be done in such a way that will be educational, however, quite entertaining, because there will be a host of some of the greatest songs ever performed. And I would like to invite everyone to come out and join us for that afternoon. And it's, again, over at the Museum of Art, Fort Lauderdale, in their theater. I guarantee you'll have a great time.
And it's from what to what time?
It starts at 2 o'clock, but because we've invited people to, or at least we've invited musicians and students of jazz to bring their instruments, you never know how long a jam session will last. Because at the end of the show, we would like to invite musicians up to join us on stage for a nice little dance session.
Okay. It sounds exciting. So are they going to have like jazz art on the walls of the museum?
Well, actually, we will be in the theater, so there will be art in that section of the museum. But there is an exhibit going on that's connected to jazz, and it's called the Cobra exhibit. And it has to do with art that was created during World War II, and it has that jazz connection. So it would be, at least I suggest that once you come over to see the show, either before the show, go check out the Cobra exhibit, or after the show. But maybe you will have had such a good time with us, you just wouldn't want to leave. So come early and visit the museum, because they also have a little section there for eating small quick foods, but you really can have a good time.
Awesome. Would there be any wine and cheese and all that good stuff there?
I know they have drinks. I don't recall if they have wine, but that is a strong possibility.
Well, not a problem. I always enjoy listening to jazz and classical music for several reasons, but one of the main reasons is because it puts my mind in on another level. I'm more relaxed, and especially with some wine and you just chilling, listen to some good music. You got the candlelights going, the essence, in the air. I love to set the atmosphere with jazz or classical music. So I definitely applaud you for the great work you're doing and preserving the jazz art.
And some of us say that jazz is soothing to the soul.
Oh yes,
I can understand why a glass of wine and jazz would go well together, because though I am one who appreciates hip hop and rap, sometimes it's a little bit more aggressive than your mind needs it to be. And when you want to sit back and relax, you need something like jazz to touch you just in the right way and in the right place. And that's your heart and soul.
Amen.
So I can understand that. And again, I do invite everyone to come out. And jazz is not just the music for your parents. It's music for everyone.
Everybody.
So come on out, discover what we have, and learn what it's all about and where it came from. Because I briefly heard part of your show where you had mentioned that it originated during slavery, and that is so true. So it'll be fun learning about that, but we also will bring you up to date. We take you straight through, but having a great time.
Amen. It sounds like it's going to be a grand event, and I'm excited to take part in it, and I will be there, of course, and all my supporters will be there as well.
That would be great. And when you guys come out, let us know that you heard it on the King Kevin show. I think that was great.
Amen. Well, I appreciate you, and thank you.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Well, you heard it from Miss Dozier herself, man. She's going to rip it. I've heard her sing myself in person and on YouTube and all that good stuff. But like I was mentioning earlier regarding classical music and jazz, gospel music, country music, there's just different genres out there. But these types of music, and I'm going to do a whole other show about this, but I'm going to touch upon the subject. It hyphens your frequency and vibrations. Yes, yes. You calling the King Kevin show?
Hello, King Kevin.
Yes, yes, yes. 786. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Maria Alexis from Miami, Florida.
Oh yes, Miss Alexis. How you doing?
Very good. Thanks for asking yourself.
You know, we on the King Kevin show where every day is a blessed day, so I'm definitely thankful to be alive. I truly am. I thank God every day for that. Thanks for asking.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have a question or comment?
No, I just really like that comment that you made. Well, what you said about how like people used to dress. Like I know you said it way earlier,
Right.
but like it caught my ear about how people used to dress in the 1920s, like especially like black people. Like we did not like used to look as common as we now see nowadays. If you go through any like mostly black areas. Like, we used to really take care and take pride in our appearance. I just wanted to, like, put emphasis on that, like, because it is very true. It's just that, like, when you see that in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
everybody looks so sharp.
And you're right about that. And the question that I wanted to ask was, like I said earlier, is it that music control society or society control music? Because there's a huge difference between back then and now. So I'm not sure what really took place. Maybe it's a series of I don't know, the economy, politics, the social political relationships. Something took place for black men. Let's talk about the black men for a second. For black men to be dressed sharp as a thumbtack. When a lady walks in your presence, you tip your hat to her. You know, you wearing suits and ties. To now, you catch a grown black man, the grown adults as well, and walk around with their boxers showing, or walk around with no belt at all, and you know, tank tops that wear like as if there is no class. So, I mean, that's something that always bothered me. And even as an adult, I see another grown man walking around like that. I want to say something to him. But then again, you know, it's not really that individual. It's a spirit behind that individual. So we need to, you know.
And that point that you made about like music, because like what you are describing is also like what the artists are portraying to them as what's cool and what's acceptable and what they should aspire to.
That's true. That's very true. A great point there.
Most of the time, those are their idols, especially the youth.
So you're pretty much saying that the music is controlling society.
I mean, that's the age-old question. Does society reflect art, or does art reflect society? The chicken and the egg. So I'm not really sure, but I do know that they mirror one another.
They mirror one another. Now that's a great way to look at it. That's a great way to look at it. Wow, you're pretty smart.
Thank you, King.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in and everything. And you know, always you know, call in, watch, share the links, all that good stuff. We appreciate it.
Of course. You have a great program. It's a great show. I'm enjoying it.
All right. Well, we enjoying you too. We thank you.
Thank you.
Okay then. Bye bye. Yeah, I love what she was saying. Like society and music, they mirror one another. It's not that one controls the other one. I'm gonna have to write about that. Believe it or not, there is a science called archaeoacoustic. If I'm not pronouncing it right, it's pretty much the archaeology of sound, the study of sound. And there was this temple in Britain that they found. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Britain. And what they found was 7,000 skulls in this tomb underground. It's an underground tomb. The article I read, it spoke as if this was some sort of dome, underground dome or tomb, and 7,000 bodies was in there. You know, nothing but skulls and, you know, the bones. And when you talk, there was this huge echo. And the reason why these people were studying this, and they have this arc acoustic conference every year. As a matter of fact, they just had it in February in Britain. And the reason why they're studying this is because they want to know how is it that sound impacts human behavior and the development of society. That's the whole premise of this whole science group. So if you have universities investing hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to study sound, what kind of power do you think sound has? They believe that these people were using sound as a way of worship. So like, for instance, we in church, we play gospel music, praise and worship music to invite, the Holy Spirit in so we can be in line to for the presence of God when he comes and enters the house of God. So you have a corporate gathering of believers. And so the music sets up the atmosphere. Now, with these individuals, they believe they were using the sound of this tune to either brainwash these people or to help them with sacrifices or rituals. I don't know. These people back, the ancient Europeans, you don't know what they were into. They had their mindsets were much different than Africans. I just must say that. It's the truth. So, but we're not going to get into that right now. And the reason why I was bringing up the archaeology of sound in this particular conference is because it is said that at 110 hertz, 110 hertz frequency, you can start brainwashing or manipulate the minds of people. Now, I don't know how many hertz is used in music, but this particular information I found extremely fascinating because I've never heard anything like it. Well, actually, I did from Brother Plight and one of these other Pan-African brothers that was saying that the ancient Africans were using sound and vibrations to move objects, to move matter. So when I heard that, I said, wow. Automatically, I'm thinking about the pyramids. I'm thinking about the wonderful monuments and buildings that our ancestors built. Now, if this science was known to our ancestors back then, you're talking about 1000 BC. Some people will call it BCE, before the Common Era. Those who don't want to acknowledge the birth of Christ, but I acknowledge it, so it's BC. So 2000 and beyond, who knows how far. Now, today with sound, could it be that most of our youth is being brainwashed or being manipulated through the airways of rap music, hip-hop? Now, not all rap and hip-hop, but could there be some sort of conspiracy going on with the sound of music? Could it be mass control? Now, this institute that I mentioned earlier, as a matter of fact, they mentioned, and I got to get the exact name for you all because I know some people are going to challenge me on whether or not this is real or not. But they give presentations on how to control the masses through sound and symbols. Archaeology is the study of objects and buildings and bones and all of that. The archaeoacoustic is the study of sound and how it impacts society. Could the rap music or the music that our teens are listening to today is dumbing down them? Remember I said earlier, in life, it consists of three components. And of course, many different variables and aspects, but in everything in life has these three things. Everything is spiritual. Well, there's four things. Everything is spiritual. There's frequency, there's vibration, and there's energy. Certain music that you listen to, it can increase your frequency or it can decrease your frequency. There's a particular link that I would love to share with you all. You got to go to my Twitter so you get more understanding of what I'm talking about because it's really that deep. The fact that you can change people's spirit, alter their behavior through music, that's a powerful thing. So I guess you can say that music impacts society. So that's why when I start every morning, and sometimes before I sleep as well, I put on a gospel station. I do that because I want to set up the atmosphere. Well, actually, that's not the first thing I do. I pray, then I turn on the gospel music, then I feed my fish, Paul Juan, and then I, take a shower and all the other good stuff. But I listen to gospel music because I want positive things. I want positive vibrations and energy entering my ears. I don't want to hear nothing else. And I say that because I'm not trying to listen to no rap. I'm not trying to hear no cursing. I'm not trying to hear about no sex and no R&B. I don't even listen to classical music. I just listen to gospel because I pay attention to what enters into my mind, into my consciousness. So that's why I just do it. Some other great music, like I mentioned earlier, that is great and it raises up your frequency of your vibration. I know everybody's saying that. What the heck is Kevin saying? Trust me, frequency, vibration, and energy. Now, some other great genres, as I mentioned, other than classical and jazz, you have folk music, orchestra, new age, soul, opera, and there's so many others. Some great African drum music. There's jazz companies all over, organizations and bands all over the world, from like I mentioned, throughout Africa, throughout Brazil, Cuba have their own Latin flavor going on. I could definitely mention some of these names. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then, if you want to get into some other artists that was able to raise your frequency, is Jazz Mraz, Jack Johnson, Keith Urban, Eddie Vedder, Incubus, Revolution, Florence and the Machine, Mos Def, Tracy Chapman, Sade. These individuals raise your frequency and raise your level of consciousness. There's something with the pineal gland, your brain waves, the energy that goes into your mind and alters your attitude with this music. So you gotta be careful. Why do you think that people, when they get in the war, back in the days of getting in the wars, used to play the drums a lot? The ballads. The soldiers that thump, brrrr, brrrr, bum, bum. They do that because to give the men, the soldiers, momentum. And Shaka Zulu, the warrior king of the Zulu tribe, what he used to do is he used to have, the musicians play the drums, and then he would have the women dance around the men, to motivate them to come back home and to fight a good fight so they could beat their wives. And it wasn't like any seductive, dancing, but just enough so that they can be pumped up and ready for battle. Music is very powerful. Now, here are some individuals in music that dumbs down your frequency. And this is some of the opinion of a young man that wrote this awesome blog. His name is Chris Wills. I hope I pronounced his name right. Wiluz, if you want to look him up. He has a website called Life is Balance is Life. Okay? And these are the artists that he says lowers your frequency. That's Ella Fitzgerald, by the way, you guys listen to, called named Summertime. Now, here are the artists. You got Lil Wayne, Puff Daddy, Britney Spears, Rihanna, Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, Drake, Kanye West, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Metallica, Jay-Z, Gucci Mane. I mean, the list goes on and on. Why do you think our teenagers are acting the way they do? They want to emulate these artists. They want to be just like them. So if their frequency is lowered by listening to this gangster rap, the violence in the rap, the sex in the rap, the abuse, the disrespect, they're going to get involved in that as well. They're going to mirror that. Like the caller said earlier, society mirrors what popular music is. And these big record companies, they know that. And believe it or not, some of these major record labels, the owners of these record labels, they have huge stakes and stocks in some of these private prisons. So they benefit. Okay, let's dumb down the frequency of these young men and women. You follow me? So that they can fill up our prisons. So I know I can put up these billboards. I can put up the money to pay for the songs, the international distribution of this music. Be sure that these people stay in a state of depression unconsciously, thinking that, yeah, I'm good, I'm confident, I'm bold, I'm big, I got change, I got my eyelashes good, my weave's looking good, my rims straight. But at the same time, they're losing spiritually. There's an article that I read about. Don't remember the name of the article, but I do know the dude said the title was "What the F Happened with Music." And so he went from, like I'm doing now with jazz, to today's popular music. And he was saying how there was a big billboard with 50 Cent in this particular city. I don't remember where the city was. I want to say it was in Florida somewhere, because the billboard was right next to elementary school, very close proximity. And it had a picture of 50 Cent. You know 50 Cent is a big bold dude, and he had tattoos on his back and two guns on the billboard, promoting a movie or album or something, whatever it was. These parents, not only did they catch a fit, they protested that these billboards get taken down immediately. And guess what? The company that put up those billboards, they came and took it down ASAP. You know what I'm saying? So I believe a solution to this issue regarding our youth and the violence that's portrayed in the music. Okay, we understand it's a form of entertainment. We got action movies. And like Tupac said in his interview when he was in prison, he said that, okay, I know I can't take full responsibility for what's going on in society. I know my music, people imitate my music, people enjoy what I'm doing, and some of them copycat that. I can't help those people who are weak-minded. Now I'm paraphrasing now. I can't help those people who are weak-minded and imitate everything I'm saying day to day, because this is just entertainment. Now this is Tupac saying this. This is just entertainment. You know, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger do a movie and people watch him shooting, people watch him blowing up buildings, and they gonna imitate that. It's like that's the same thing. So you can't really blame all the violence on rap music. But I would take responsibility for what I put out there. But if you listen to my lyrics, you know I'm trying to empower my people to let them know that, look, if we're gonna be about this gangster stuff, let's get organized. Instead of just slanging drugs and acting crazy, let's make sure that the drug dealers be the ones responsible for paying for the community centers, paying for the scholarships, you know, paying for different business loans and investments, stuff like that. Let that drug money circulate to benefit the community and not degrade and destruct the community. You know what I'm saying? Let it be for the betterment of our people. So when he was saying that, I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. Organized crime. He would call it, why not? The United States government is organized crime. The United States Army is the biggest gang of the world. That's what he was saying. And I believe it was a correction officer told him that at the time. And this whole thing with the way, you know, our women are portrayed, whether it's the media, black women in the media, the news, music, the television, movies. I mean, let's get back to like those days of the Cotton Club. You know what I mean? Taking our time to dress up. You know, I love when a woman takes the time of how she looks. You know what I mean? Like she take care of herself. You know, she exercising, she working out, the hair looking beautiful, natural at that. You know, wearing gloves and the pearls, the diamonds, whatever the case may be, whatever you got. But you don't need a lot of money to be classy. Classy has nothing to do. Classy has nothing to do with money. Yeah, if you got money, you got opportunity to be around some very fancy places, but that has nothing to do with money. My mom taught me that. You must be able to appreciate everything and everybody, and make the best of what you have. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to letting our sisters and brothers know who they are and what they are. We are queens and kings. Why you think every day I got the King Kevin show? I post pictures on my Instagram, my Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that. I always promote that king or queen aura, that persona, because I want my people to see themselves that way. We all are royalty. We all are God's children. Whether you red, yellow, white, black, green, you're God's children. We are in this world to live together, to coexist, to integrate. Some people call it assimilate. And music was a great assimilation tool because it brought everyone together. As I mentioned in the show, black and white people didn't perform together. It wasn't until this artist, jazz artist named Benny, what's his last name? I want to give his brother prop, man, because I love what he did for the black artists. And I just want to give him a shout out, but I can't seem to remember his name. But man, this dude did a big thing. The father of blues, W.C. Haney, Ella Fitzgerald was the master of scat singing, which was Miss Dozier did earlier. That ba 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 da 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 da. It's the using your voice as an instrument. And actually, the person who created that was Satchmo. Satchmo, I like that name. I might take that name. But anyway, I want to share with you guys that information. And there's also this wonderful chart. There's one chart on frequency, and I want to make sure that I wanted to share this information with you all because I think you will actually dig this wonderful chart on frequencies. Now, there are many emotions in people, such as shame and guilt, which is the lowest frequency, 20 to 30 hertz. And then you have love, joy, peace, enlightenment. Enlightenment is the highest level, the highest frequency. That's 500 to 700 hertz on frequency. Now, this particular chart, which I'm gonna put on my Instagram later. So don't forget @courage2believe, and this is the chart from highest to lowest. As a matter of fact, let me start from lowest to highest. So the lowest is 20, which is shame. And I want you guys to listen to this because every person on this planet is vibrating at a very subtle hertz frequency rate or their personal vibration analysis. Now, from shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage. Now, pride and courage. Now, pride can go negatively or can go positively, but this is the first thing after anger. Now, anger isn't necessarily always bad, or violence isn't always bad. The reason why I say that is because if you use violence to protect yourself, how could that be bad? You may need to use some violence. Somebody's attacking you. You may need to use violence to be able to defend yourself, to protect yourself. You understand? So violence isn't necessarily a bad thing, which is, comes from anger. When you use violence, you're using that negative emotion in a positive way. This is what I'm pretty much trying to say. From the moment we are born, our emotions are engaged in our mind and it starts learning defense reactions, which are imprinted and stored deep in our mind's recesses. So one thing about adults, I'm going to get back to the chart, but one thing about us grown adults, we have collected an array of emotions, an array of bad experiences and good ones, but the bad ones, they are planted into our conscious mind. We're not going to forget them. As a matter of fact, if a person experiences enough negative, bad, evil experiences on a constant basis, and as they're growing up, they will always be a defensive, negative individual, for the most part. Now, how does an individual who is going through these things, who has experienced all these negative aspects in their life, how can they change their frequency to something more on a positive level? Now, the one thing you definitely have to do is pray. Praying is a form of meditation. It is one of the best ways to reach the highest level of consciousness, which is enlightenment. You know, when I'm praying to God, I'm thanking God for His graciousness. I'm thanking God for His love and His favor and all the good things He has done for me and my family. You understand? It just frees me. There's some gospel songs out there, and it just makes me feel and know that I'm free, to know that I'm the son of the Most High God. As a matter of fact, in Proverbs 3:6, it's a 3:6 through 13, if I'm not mistaken. It talks about how when you're praising God, when you're putting God first, everything that you need will be put in your path that you need to get to where you need to get to accomplish your goals and dreams. And as you experience that favor, as you experience those positive aspects in life, that, my kings and queens, allows you to reverse the curse of negativity and always being on the defensive. When you always be on the defensive, you have a fence around you, can nothing get in. Can't no love get in. And all you're doing is you keeping that hate in there, and there's no love coming in. So you are remain in some sort of state of mind where everybody's against you, or you always feel as if you got to defend yourself, which is not the case. That just takes too much energy. Forgive me, but it really, really does. And also, after courage, which is at 200, then you have neutrality at 250, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. Now, as you go from shame to enlightenment, shame is at the bottom of this. I want to call it a cone or a funnel. It's at the bottom, so it's contracted. But as you go up, it expands. You know, so it expands from the very top. That's where you have the ultimate level of consciousness, which is enlightenment. That's when you're able to be objective. Whatever comes to place, you can listen. You can. This is one of the things that jazz music did. You are now you're more in tune with what's going on. Your mind is receptive. Now you're just not going for any kind of foolishness. You know what you want. You know what you woke up for. You know what God's purpose is for you. So jazz music, it allowed people to express themselves, not just to feel good, but to uplift their spirits. You got to be careful about just doing things because it feels good. You can't live life based on, like Dr. Amos Wilson always says, just because it feels good, because what you always do to make you feel good could ultimately kill you. So it's important to be in positive places, listen to positive music. Let me say that list again for some people who did not hear about the list, because that is very, very important. To raise your consciousness, the type of music you should be listening to is classical, jazz, gospel, folk, orchestra, new age, soul, opera, African rhythms, Caribbean rhythms like Bob Marley. Bob Marley music is probably one of the best examples of reggae that raised your consciousness. I mean, his music, it didn't just make you feel free, but it made you aware. You know what I mean? It made you understand the situation that's going on in Jamaica and which was going on throughout the world in the black communities, believe it or not. And so I definitely love jazz. Again, happy Jazz Month, Jazz Appreciation Month. It is the Smithsonian Museum. They deemed Jazz Month of April as a national holiday. You know what I mean? So everybody's doing something all over the world. So if you know a musician anywhere, a jazz musician, man, tell them, motivate them to keep up and to continue doing the great job they're doing within, you know, the industry of music, because it's positive. Anything positive, anybody will tell you. Anybody who know King Kevin will tell you. Anything positive, I'm with it. Anything positive that increases empowerment, increasing, you know, the attitudes of the community, you know, I'm down for it by law. You don't have to ask me twice. I don't care if it's music, if it's a book, It's a Bible scripture. If it's a close, an event, if it's something positive, and I have the means and the resources to either attend or support, I'm going to do it because that levels my frequency. Be careful of where you place your energy. It isn't always good to place your energy with every single person. You know what I mean? It's not really the best thing to use your energy that God bless you with on just frivolous things. People use their energy to be with multiple women. People use their energy to be with multiple men. Some people use their energy to pray. You know what I mean? To build a relationship with God. That's energy. Some people use their energy to write books. Other people use their energy to be a better husband, be a better wife, to raise the vibration of that relationship. You know what I mean? That's why I said, again, frequency, energy, and vibrations. Now, for example, I don't have one here, but you remember when we was in school, like middle school, there was this big silver fork, kind of, like a prong. It was huge, like heavy, and you take it and you bang it and it'll shake that vibration. And you take that fork and you stick it into water. What happens to that water? It moves, right? It causes a ripple effect. The same thing happens with people, with us. Our bodies are 80% water. So if our bodies are 80% water, that means that the vibrations that we're getting, the energy we're getting, the frequency level we're getting from the music we listen to, we place into our minds and into our consciousness, it affects our body. And it's very safe to say it affects our spirit in the way we feel and see about ourselves. Why do you think some music makes us sad? You know, there's some music that makes us very happy because it's doing something to our spirit. And I think the more we ignore this, the more as a society we begin to decline in respect, in dignity, in morals, morality, and consciousness. And that is something that, you know, I've become aware. That's why I don't watch news, because I don't want to listen to that. I don't want that sound in my ear, all that negativity that's going on, even though it's very important. I know it's very important what's going on. It's just some people going through some very tragic things. I know my little nephew, I don't watch the news, but my nephew, late last year, literally right after Thanksgiving, passed away. You know, he hit him in an accident, and rest in peace, little Nick. But the point I'm trying to make is, I don't have to watch the news. You don't have to watch the news. That negativity in your ear all the time, if you're so worried about what's going on in the news, get a close relationship with God, the creator of the universe. If he's the creator of the universe, then we are in position to know everything and all things that we need to know regarding our family. God will speak to us through our spirits. We are spiritual beings, not just analytical and logistical and all that good stuff, but we are a spirit. Everything is spirit. And I wanted to stress that amongst you all too, so that you can understand where we are going as far as a society. And it's been definitely a blessed King Kevin show. I'm thankful for everybody who called in, who tuned in today. And I hope you guys have a blessed week. Don't forget, check us out Saturday at the Museum of Arts in Fort Lauderdale as Paulette Dozier, who's a fabulous actress and jazz vocalist, is going to teach us on some history. It's a classy event. Come through sharp and everything. I will definitely be in the building. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be on stage, so I'm excited. This has been another great episode of the King Kevin Show. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I do want to hang around with y'all just a little bit more, but I thank God for all of you. And look out for my website, KevinDorival.com. Today is April 23rd, so by May 1st, the website will be up. My current website, thecouragetobelieve.com, will still be live, so you can contact me there. If you want me to come to your school or organization for any speaking engagements, especially dealing with history, holler at me, or motivational. I will be in Jacksonville May 29th. Prevention of Black on Black Crime conference up there in Jacksonville, and I'll be also hosting black on black crime prevention panel, and a preview for my documentary come May 24th. So May's gonna be a very big month, and the whole month of May is gonna be dedicated to Haiti. Shout out to all the ancestors, Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Christophe, and all them, bad boys who represented back then, in the 19th century. God bless y'all again. This is King Kevin Dorival. I'm out, for real. I love you. Thanks for the support.